The most important part to any zoo is the animals in the enclosures they call home. Throughout the series, I'll be designing different enclosures for an array of animals, whilst also keeping guest interaction at the forefront of every build. Join me each week as I tackle a new enclosure and idea and try and bring it to life within Planet Zoo. Today I'm building a sloth enclosure, and this is a very unique enclosure as I'll be using a pre-built enclosure and then extending it so the sloth has more space. Here are the stats, and because the enclosure is a little different, there isn't much in terms of requirements, as you can see there on the screen. And the group sizes, I only plan to have one sloth at the moment, and then maybe take it a bit further from there. In goes the pre-built enclosure here, and this is the sort of main hub for the enclosure, and I take out this wall here so that I can extend it. Now what I wanted to do was make this a very modern and sleek design, so I use these sort of bamboo panels. I do have to take these away and start again because they weren't quite lining up with the wall, but I eventually get there. I've sort of practiced this design because I knew what I wanted to have, and I wanted it to look very smart and sleek, and also just sort of make it eye-catching for guests so they will enter this space. As you can see, I'm just filling in that space now. I'm really boxing in that horrible building which does need that cladding over it. Now with this outside space, I knew I wanted it to all be glass panels so you could get the best view of the sloth when it is out in this space, and it does mean that guests don't just have to walk through the enclosure itself. Now because it's a pre-built enclosure, it does mean the guests can only access that first bit in the box there, and there is no way of bringing them out to the rest of the enclosure, which I think is a little bit of a shame, but it's nice to add that bit of space. Keeping with the modern and sleek design, I knew I wanted to add these grass panels here to the back just to really offset that big bamboo wall there, and you will see a lot of foliage go in around the enclosure, like down the side here. I don't worry on the other side so much because I don't know what I want to build beyond that point, but because this backs onto the otter and binturong enclosure, I knew I wanted it to look its best. So this is sort of the most bit of foliage I have used, just different textures, different heights, just to really fill in that space, but also not block the view completely so guests can see the sloth when it is out and about. Like I said, there is a lot of foliage in this build, with more going round the back here. The reason I'm doing this is because it's a pre-built enclosure. You just switch on some little switches and you can decide what things you want in the enclosure itself, and it does it all for you. It was only the grass bit out the back that I had the freedom with, and obviously I used my own apparatus to fill in that space, very similar to the lemur enclosure that I've used previously. One thing I have noticed when building is this lovely sloth piece here, and I knew I wanted this to feature on these curved walls just so people knew what they were entering into, just in case the sloth isn't out and about and they can't see it when they enter. As you can see, some mesh was added to the wall here, just to enclose that space. I'm not really sure why, but it did change the roof panel, which was nice because it did add in a lot more light. I wasn't really sure what to do with this outside space. I was a bit worried that the sloth wouldn't really be able to use it, but I try and make the most of it. And as you can see here, I'm switching on all the extras to really fill in this space, just in case the sloth doesn't use this outside space that I have built. One thing I did start to notice here was that guests weren't using the space, so I tried to see if it was because the path wasn't complete and they didn't have a full walk through, but I later found out they weren't really using the space. I don't know if it's because there wasn't really much in there for them to look at, with there only being one sloth, so it will be something I look into the future, or if it was just something that needed time, because this is towards the back end of the zoo and the sloth doesn't really do a lot, which you can see. So as you can imagine, the footage I have got of this enclosure isn't a huge amount. So here I am just adding the last few bits, not really sure what to add because I didn't really want to add too much in terms of high trees. I just wanted some low foliage, which you can see here on screen now. Overall, I'm happy with this build and I'm glad I gave it a go, but it's definitely not my best enclosure. It is nice to build these slightly smaller ones, and really sort of make the most of these little spaces I have within the zoo.